This is the official mathematical damage formula that is used for calculating the damage of every single attack ever done inside Mobile Legends. Every single damage number that has ever appeared on your screen is calculated precisely with this. And today, I'm going to uncover exactly what goes into this secret formula and reveal to you exactly how damage works inside the game. Now here is the simplified version of the formula. Actual damage equals to gross attack damage multiplied by the defense multiplier and damage reduction multiplier. So let's focus on the gross attack damage first. Gross attack damage is simply how much damage an attack does before any reductions. Most heroes have different multipliers in their attacks, which affects how much damage their attacks do. So for most attacks, the gross attack damage is calculated with a base damage plus the product of a physical attack or magic power stat multiplied by a multiplier. Sometimes other stats such as HP or even defense and mana can be used as part of the multiplier. Let's take a fairly simple hero as an example. Ruby's ultimate has a pretty straightforward damage calculation. From her skill description here, we can see that it does 200 base damage plus an additional 200% of her total physical attack. The base damage of this skill will increase based on the level of her ultimate. So it has 200 base damage at level 1 and increases up to 480 base damage at level 3. The attack multiplier on the other hand will remain constant at 200% throughout all levels. So, to prove that the formula actually works, let's try this out on a damage bot in practice mode. Currently, our demo Ruby has 256 total physical attack, as we can see from the stats page here. So in theory, our level 1 ultimate will deal 200 base damage plus 200% of our total physical attack, which was 256. This gives us a total of 712 damage. As we can see, that's exactly how much damage it did. The damage calculation is working so far. Now, let's try increasing her physical attack by getting an item and also leveling up her ultimate to level 3. So in theory, our ultimate will now deal 480 plus 200% of 271, which equals to 1022. So as expected, the practical damage is reflecting correctly together with the theoretical damage so far, which settles the first part of the formula. However, defense stats exist, which helps the damage receiver to reduce the damage taken. For example here, if we increase the defense of the damage spot here, with the exact same Ruby earlier, you can see that the damage taken has been reduced when defense has been added. So on to the second part of our damage calculations, we have the defense multiplier. The defense multiplier is not as simple as the calculation of gross attack damage, as it has several parts to it. But before we go into the actual multiplier calculation, let's first gain an understanding of how defense and penetration works. What you need to understand here is that each point of defense does not reduce damage taken by 1. So gaining 1 defense doesn't just reduce your damage taken by 1 point. Instead, each point of defense is plugged into the defense multiplier, which then outputs a percentage figure which is then used to reduce the damage taken. Here is a chart that shows how much damage reduction we gain for each point of defense. So for example, at 0 defense, we have 0% damage reduction. But if we have 40 defense, there will be a 25% damage reduction. So how is this calculated? Well, here's the full defense multiplier calculation. Now, of course, this looks pretty complicated, but bear with me as I break it down for you so you can easily understand this. First, we have the target's defense stat, which is corresponding to the type of damage dealt. This will be magic defense for magic damage or physical defense for physical damage. Second, we have defense reduction. Defense reduction effects are mostly from hero skills, such as Saber and Sylvanas passives, or Dairoth's and Eudora skills. Genius Wand is the only item in the game so far that has a defense reduction effect. Third and fourth, we have fixed and percentage penetration. We can gain fixed penetration stats in many ways, but most commonly from emblem stats and items. Assassin emblem has a default 14 points of fixed penetration at level 60, and you can gain an additional 5 points of fixed penetration by equipping the Rupture talent. The Mage emblem also provides 8 points of fixed penetration at level 60. As for items, Fury Hammer, Hunter Strike, and Blade of Heptasis all provide fixed physical penetration, while Arcane Boots and Genius Wand provide fixed magic penetration. For percentage penetration, this will mostly be from Divine Glaive for percentage magic penetration and Malefic Roar for percentage physical penetration. Lunox is the only hero in the game so far that can gain high percentage penetration through just her passive. The key difference between defense reduction and penetration effects is that defense reduction is a debuff. It applies directly onto the target's defense and lowers it. Because of this, other sources of damage besides your own can benefit from the reduced defense to deal more damage. Penetration effects, on the other hand, do not actually lower the target's defense, but merely ignores it. This means that other sources of damage do not benefit from any penetration stats that you have. All in all, these 4 factors will be taken into account when calculating the defense multiplier. So let's go on to our demonstration of these effects in practice. To establish a baseline, we'll first see how much Eudora's skill 1 gross attack damage will be on this damage board with 0 defense. So let's add some magic defense onto this damage board. And now we have 84 magic defense on him. So according to the defense multiplier, we will theoretically deal 389 damage on this damage board. As we can see, reality reflects the theory. So we are on the right path here. Now, let's add some fixed penetration by getting Arcane Boots, which gives us 10 fixed penetration. In theory, we should be doing 409 magic damage with Eudora's skill 1 now. Nice, we got the right numbers again. Now, Eudora's skill 2 can reduce a target's magic defense for 1.8 seconds when cast. It has 25 points of magic defense reduction at level 6, and we can easily see this in effect by casting it on the board. So in theory, we can increase our initial skill 1 damage to 470 by casting skill 2 first, since it reduces the target's magic defense. Sweet, we increased our damage again. Now let's add some percentage penetration into the mix by getting Divine Glaive. We can't use the baseline damage from our previous example anymore, since Divine Glaive has 60 magic power, which increases our gross attack damage. So let's get our new baseline number by increasing our magic power by 60 first. Okay, now that we have the baseline, we can increase the damage of skill 1 to 635 by having Divine Glaive's percentage penetration effect added into our calculations. Excellent. Now that we know all of the parts are working according to theory, I want to point out 2 key points that you should know when it comes to defense and penetration. First is the order in which defense reduction and penetration is applied in the defense multiplier calculations. You'll see why this is important very shortly. The order goes like this. First, defense reduction. Second, flat penetration. Third, percentage penetration. So using our last example, we use the correct order to determine the final calculation, which is why our final number reflects what came out in the game. Now let's suppose we swap places between defense reduction and percentage penetration. So we calculate percentage penetration first and defense reduction last. As you can see, the final number is bigger. This is because percentage penetration is based on the target's defense stat, which means the amount of penetration scales according to how much the enemy's defense is. If defense reduction is applied first, the target's defense is lowered and becomes smaller, which also lowers the amount of penetration from Divine Glaive's percentage penetration effect. This is important to know for heroes that have defense reduction effects, such as Dairoth, Saber, Sylvana, and Harley. These heroes will have anti-synergy with percentage penetration, which makes Divine Glaive or Malefic Roar less effective with them. The second key point to note is that defense has diminishing returns. This means that the more defense you have, the less damage reduction each point of defense will give you. So for example, gaining 40 points of defense from 0 points will give us an increase of 25% damage reduction. However, gaining another 40 points of defense from 40 to 80 only gives us a 15% increase in damage reduction. Further gaining another 40 points of defense from 80 to 120 only gives us a 10% increase of damage reduction. So as we can see, even though we gain 40 points of defense each time, the increase in damage reduction is actually getting lower and lower. This essentially means that stacking up too much of the same defense stat becomes a lot less efficient, especially at higher values, since the damage reduction gain will be low at those higher values. This is why we should try to balance defense with HP. For the last part of our damage calculations, we have the damage reduction multiplier. The calculation is applied at the end of the formula, after defense and penetration has already been calculated. Examples of damage reduction effects are Baxia's passive and Twilight Armor for fixed damage reduction effects, and Vengeance, Athena's shield, or Teresla's passive for percentage damage reduction effects. We can see the effect in action and prove that the formula is valid by testing it in practice mode against Athena's shield. In theory, after applying Athena's damage reduction effect, we should expect Odette's skill 1 damage to be 300. So once again, we proved that the formula is working correctly. And that's everything on how damage works in Mobile Legends. I hope this video has been helpful to you in understanding the game at a deeper level, and maybe unlock some ideas in your heads when it comes to builds. If you want to see how we can apply these damage calculations for practical use, you can check out this next video where we explore how good Malefic Roar is at different defense levels. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.